Hey guys, lately I have been reading this, American Nerd, The Story of My People by Benjamin Nugent. I highly recommend it. It's not as well put together as I would have hoped, but nonetheless, it makes you feel very close to those in your nerdy clan. A lot of us have gone through similar experiences, and I say this with such confidence because on an atheist channel, I'm almost positive that probably about 90% of my subscribers would have been categorized as nerds when they were younger. Reading this book has made me realize that there's a lot of things that happen in my life that put me into the nerddom that I could never put into words beforehand. Just being awkward, not being able to carry myself in social situations, talking about things that no one else had any interest in whatsoever, getting really excited about things that may have been considered socially unacceptable at the time, especially for our culture. Japanese anime, comic books, cartoons. I think that this whole thing kind of resonates with most of us. Maybe this isn't so much a video with a point more than it's just me wanking about growing up as a nerd. At least I get to wank in public for once. Maybe you guys are different, but I do not know for the life of me what catapulted me into nerddom when I was younger. Probably about third or fourth grade, when kids are getting used to the social climate and realizing that there is a such thing as cliques and popularity, that's when I felt all of a sudden cut off by everybody else. And I can't think of anything that I could have done that would have made them feel that way toward me. There probably was something. I probably acted weird or didn't understand certain social cues or didn't pick up on them, things like that. I just can't think of a certain time when that happened. But it definitely stayed with me till the end of grade school. That's 8th grade for parochial school, into high school, and then into college eventually. For some reason, when I was in grade school, around 5th or 6th grade, I started to really like football. American football, not actual football. And I would talk about it all the time, and I think this was just my way of trying to be popular because that's what the popular guys talked about at the time. And growing up with boys, I didn't know a feminine way to act, so I just talked about football a lot, and I pretended like I liked it. What resulted in that was a punch in the stomach by Kevin Huber. So there's my claim to fame. All through grade school, I barely had any friends. I had a handful of people that would talk to me at school, but no one actually wanted to hang out with me outside of school, even though I tried really, really hard to get people to come over to my house and to hang out with me. And maybe that is why they didn't want to hang out with me, was because I was trying. High school started, and I decided to turn over a new leaf. So I started dressing more girly and feminine and just being more quiet and trying to let people make their own decisions about me before I opened my mouth too wide. I actually made a conscious effort to do poorly in school because that's what the popular kids did. So I sacrificed my good grades for trying to be popular. So my freshman year, I had a crush on this guy. He had glasses and he had long hair, and he had a very kind of robotic way of speaking. He was definitely a nerd, but I didn't recognize it at the time. He had a very robotic way of speaking, but he was also very sensitive, and he said very eloquent and insightful things. So I told my friends that I liked this guy, and their first reaction was, ew, but he's such a nerd. And because of that one comment from my friends, I totally relinquished any idea of ever dating him. And honestly, that's my biggest regret in high school, because me and him, I feel like we could have had a pretty substantial high school romance. I just let it drop because I didn't want to be labeled a nerd. I did poorly in school. What's ironic is I didn't sacrifice my grades for social situations. I actually just stayed home and played on a Pokemon forum until I was 17. Maybe I just wanted to give the illusion that I did have a social life, and so I would always tell people who did want to hang out with me that I was busy. I didn't actually want to be friends with the people who wanted to be friends with me. I thought they were really boring, and Pokemon is thoroughly more interesting. So after a while, about maybe junior year in high school, I realized that no one wanted to be friends with me. It was going to be grade school all over again. So I went completely to the opposite, and I just decided everybody hated me and I wasn't going to talk to anybody, and I was just going to be mad at the world forever. And I did that. I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't make any friends. I didn't put forth any effort whatsoever. My grades just were slipping by then. I had completely let go of any semblance of good grades at that point. And it all came to a head when I was a senior. This was about 2 weeks before graduation. And this guy came up to me in the hallway. And he was always regarded as someone who was really popular. So I automatically started literally looking over my shoulder to see if people were pranking me. Like, why is this guy talking to me? And I had such a jaded outlook on life that I couldn't accept the fact that he just wanted to talk to me. So he walks up to me in the hallway and he was like, hey, what's going on? And I'm like, why are you talking to me? And then he was like, well, I just thought that you were cool and stuff. And I was like, yeah, right, man. Leave me alone. And I walked off. And years later, about 5 years later, I found out from a girl in my high school who is friends with him that he literally just wanted to talk to me. And he thought I was cool all 4 years we were in high school, but he was so terrified of me that he never came up and talked to me. And that's another thing I regret, is just not being open to the idea that people might actually want to talk to me. And I had closed everything off so quickly that I didn't give anybody a chance. So college came around, and that's when I finally embraced the fact that I am a 100% bona fide nerd. I realized that there's always going to be some sort of popularity contest going on between some group of people. It's just a matter of whether you join that popularity contest or not. If you don't, you can sit off in the corner reading your book about particle physics and nobody's going to bother you and nobody's going to care. And once I started embracing my nerddom, my grades skyrocketed. My last year in college, my GPA was a 3.5, I think. I had more friends because I could be myself. Friends that I did make turned out to be nerds as well. Finally, I have friends who are excited when I tell them about Bertrand Russell's Celestial Teapot, or who will let me talk about the Yanomamo tribe at length without yawning. I have friends who will live-action roleplay with me, who will play Dungeons and Dragons with me, and won't laugh when I go out and buy Tank Girl comics, or be totally obsessed with Data from Star Trek. What I'm trying to say is that being a nerd is totally awesome. So leave me some comments and video responses and messages telling me about your nerdy activities and your journey to accepting your nerddom. And don't pretend you don't like Star Trek.